Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Noel Lorenzana. Today I have a special guest for you to answer some very important questions regarding what's new over at the IRS, resolving IRS tax problems, and even tax politics. My guest with me today is Michael Sullivan. He's a former IRS agent, teaching instructor, tax expert, and news contributor on sites like Newsmax, Fox News, ABC, and many more. Welcome back, Michael.
Always great to see you again. How's the weather in Chicago?
The weather's great. It's getting cooler. We're moving into the fall or autumn season, which is great because that's my favorite season of the year. And I was just in sunny Florida, and it was pretty hot out there last month in August.
You feed the mouse all the time. I'm very happy that you do that. You help pay, so make sure our state doesn't have taxes, and you allow us to have more rides at Disney World. So I appreciate that very much.
It's my pleasure. Disney puts out a great product with Disney World. We went on a 7-day Disney cruise, spent a couple days at Disney Orlando, checking out what is it called over there? The Disney Springs. So we
Oh,
always
yeah.
have a great time.
Disney Springs is like a day in itself, is it not?
Yeah,
They
yeah. There's always something new to explore.
always they make it that way because they just want you to bring cheese for the mousetrap.
Yeah, we all love it, and as long as the kids and the family enjoy it, I'm happy to go there as well.
Fun fact, I was at Disney World the day they opened.
Oh wow,
And I was there for the 10th and 25th anniversaries. Yep,
that
the
is
very first day I was
wow.
actually, my parents got a place there, so I
Hmm.
had a ticket ahead of time and I marched right in. So that was the day we had like Series E and D and C. It isn't anything. Matter of fact, my son was telling me
Hmm.
now you have to schedule times and all this. And he says you have your
Yeah,
own apps to get in, and that all we did was have a ticket when I went there. So it's pretty cool how they progressed into the modern era. It really is.
yeah, definitely love Disney. So moving into our interview, Michael. Uh, Last month I attended the IRS Nationwide Tax Forum in Chicago, and according to IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel, he boldly stated that it's a new era at the IRS. And as you know, Michael, they received $60 billion in new funding, which he said was desperately needed. He also stated that it's a truly historic time at the IRS. Having worked at the IRS as an IRS agent for 10 years, what are your thoughts on this, Michael?
Well, I think we hear that before with every commissioner. I think every commissioner wants to start out with a bang, and talk is cheap. I think at the end of the day, it takes 3, 4, 5 years to see the results of that statement. Everyone, with every new administration that goes in, every commissioner, they go ahead and they look what the Congress is saying. Hey, here's the problem. It's this problem and that problem. So they boldly lay out a vision, and the jury's out. Like it's the beginning of NFL football season. Everyone's going to the Super Bowl, to the sixth game of the season, and then you kind of start separating the truth from the falsehoods that they've told you about. I just want to tell you that IRS needs massive overhauls. The computers that they have 60 mainframes that were built under Cobalt, and some of those Cobalt systems don't even talk to. You need specialists, and a lot of them are actually dying off, but there's enough of them to go ahead to transfer from that old system to the new system, and the workload keeps going on and on and on and on. And I do want to address just one thing so the public is aware, because I've done a couple national news interviews about that original 80 million that got chopped to 60 that will be chopped again. Is that half of that money is really going for computer systems and service center personnel, and then the other half of that is going for enforcement. But that's over a 10-year phase in. So we're not going to really see an impact. I think what's needed first is their infrastructure to make sure their computers are doing their job to service people, and then that'll flow out to enforcement. They got a number of issues. They got the ERC credits that are going crazy, the fraud. I'll give you a stat that just blew my mind. For ID theft, this is amazing. So I do a lot of research on this stuff because I have a big Facebook group and I get a lot of these articles sent to me. For you to get your refund, they have 548 algorithm checks to make sure you're the person getting your refund and you deserve that refund. That number staggered me to find out how much IRS is, because billions and billions of dollars are going away to fraudsters. So IRS is trying to put all these computer checks in place, and with AI coming, I think that's just gonna. I think IRS computer system is just going to be better and better because of all the new softwares and the technology systems that we have today.
Wow, that's a huge number, 548 algorithm checks. And it's not surprising because taxpayers oftentimes, more so now than in previous years, are getting letters that request identity verification, maybe income verification that they never received before, and they send it to their tax professional, and they're asking, why am I getting this? What do I do?
There's three levels of that. Some you can do over the phone. Some you got to do an ID me, and some you have to go in the office. So depending on the depth of what they think the fraud is, they require different checks by that. So you never know what level they're going to require of you. But I know some people have to go in the IRS office to make sure you have to prove that I've had my ID stolen twice. And let me tell you, just most people don't know how this happens. Let me tell you how this happens. So I live in South Florida. There's a lot of fraudsters in South Florida, as you can imagine. So what people go in, they will go ahead and find out people who have access to email addresses and files, personnel files, maybe at hospitals, maybe at stores. And what they do is they pay $100 per name. And what they give them is the name, the social security number, how many children they have. So when they go back and do those checks to file a tax return, they have enough information to prepare a false tax return. So on one case, somebody I think received over $100,000 to pay for this information, and they wound up receiving $5.6 million of an ROI just on that money spent. So these IDs are coming in large banks. It's not, oh, I'm going through your garbage can and find this. Oh, no, it's massive, massive stealing going on at one time.
Yeah, that's interesting because at the IRS Tax Forum, that was a big topic. And the suggestion was to recommend to your clients, to taxpayers, to get an IP PIN, which, as you know, is an identity protection PIN number. And as someone who prepares taxes, it could be really inconvenient. You're trying to submit a tax return and it's rejected because it requires an IP PIN. Maybe the taxpayer doesn't know it, doesn't remember receiving it, so you've got to go through that whole delay process, which slows down the whole process. But I'm just about ready to recommend to all my clients to get an IP PIN for the very reason that you just mentioned.
Yeah, the problem here's the problem. You as a professional, it's so frustrating. You're really ready to get your work product out, getting everything taped. Now you got to put that file down, and now you got to run off to your next problem that you have. Then wait for that person to either find the PIN, get back to you. So many times you're spending more time just to get that PIN number and go back. So it's going to be like this, I think, forever and ever, unless there's some time that they're going to use fingerprinting or eyeball checking to make sure that's good to go. It's going to take that type of mass effort for that to go away.
Yeah, very interesting. So moving on, Michael, my next question is regarding IRS collections. At the tax forum I attended, there was a very interesting seminar with Frank Augustino. I believe you know him.
Yes.
He said there were 15 million taxpayers in the collection division with the IRS, And he also said the IRS is overwhelmed and they want more stuff done online. He also emphasized that 2 to 4% of third party information sent to the IRS by third parties is often incorrect, which led to his advice to trust but always verify the information is correct. Basically, determine firstly if you really owe the tax. What are your thoughts on this, Michael?
99% of those people owe the tax. I've worked there long enough. I've been doing this 51 years. It's an anomaly that IRS gets that wrong. The only way they can get it wrong is if you gave them the wrong information, which is possible. I get so many calls and people say, I know IRS got it wrong. You ask for their tax return and their information. The computer program, they double check the information going in. IRS, to be very honest, is not wrong very many times. A matter of fact, I believe in the last 10 years, IRS was wrong on cases I was working for 2 different times. That was it. So usually it's right. Usually what the taxpayer thinks and what the IRS has are 2 different things. And that's because the taxpayer has never really taken the time to verify it. And what I tell everybody is nowadays anybody can go pull their IRS transcripts, and all they have to do is go to irs.gov. I'm sure you've told most of your clients, go to irs.gov, and there's 4 or 5 type of transcripts that you can get. I recommend people go see all of them. You can find out the IRS, everything they have on you, from your wage and income transcripts, your 1099s, your record of account, your transcripts. All this information is online, and you can simply go get it for free. Go to irs.gov and ask for your online transcripts, and you'll see everything IRS. And that's the time to go ahead and fix those problems. Here's the other problem: is people don't respond to IRS notices. They see it, they're like ostriches. They stick it in their desk. They don't go ahead and bother to open it until the problem's bad or they get a certified letter. So usually what I found when I was working in the collection division, it's, people have to wait until the worst is going to happen because they don't want to pursue because it's IRS and they don't want to deal with nasty grams.
Good advice there. My next question, Michael, is hoping to dispel some common myths. So basically, if someone hasn't filed their tax returns in years, can they really go to jail for not filing their tax returns?
Well, they can. It all depends if it's on a much larger crime scale. For instance, like Al Capone or other people who've gone to jail. If they want to make you part of an investigation, there's always a statute on the record. So a lot of times, if they're working maybe an investigation on a drug case or FINRA stuff or whatever, yeah, they can. There's always something on the books. But generally, to 99% of the people that are listening to this, IRS knows people haven't filed, and they're encouraging them to get back in the system. And IRS has a policy statement. It's policy statement P5 133. That's policy statement P5 133, where these aren't laws, but there's policies. What's the difference? IRS says generally this is what we're going to do in these cases. It's not the law, but this is how we're going to treat this. That policy says you only have to file the last 6 years. I have people call me because I have a very extensive YouTube station. People have not filed returns in 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, and they're shocked to find out they only have to file the last 6 years. IRS forgives all that back filing, all that big debt. Why? They want people back in the system. So if you have not filed your tax returns and you're listening to this, call this gentleman right here. He can pull your IRS tax transcripts. And even if you've lost your records, a professional like him can go ahead and reconstruct your tax returns, and he can get your tax returns online to IRS and be done with that. It's going to catch up to you because these people that IRS have hired are knocking on doors to go ahead, literally, and to bring people who haven't filed. And the reason you don't want to wait, you'd rather see this gentleman here rather than wait for IRS to send you a letter. If IRS revenue officer has your case, they're going to ask you to come into their office and bring all your records. You do not want that to happen to you because you now could be a potential audit target. The other thing IRS can do is under 6020B of the code, they can also prepare their returns for you. You do not want that to happen to you. So if you're hearing me, please go to this gentleman right here. Let him prepare your last 6 years worth of returns. And if you owe money, he will either be able to settle your debt, put you in a hardship, or get a payment agreement for you.
Yeah, great information. I appreciate the plug, and people are welcome to reach out to Michael as well with any tax problems that they have.
I'd
Michael
rather
actually
go
picks
to
up
you.
his
This
cell
is
phone.
your show. This is your show. I was going to give him my number, 95. No, I was, no,
Please do.
no,
I'll put it on
no.
screen. Don't worry.
I'm good. I'm good. Let him go see you. I'd rather him go to windy Chicago than beautiful South Florida.
But that's good advice. So people who are worried about going to jail for not filing their taxes, unless it's criminal or maybe, large scale tax evasion, as long as you file 6 years, your last 6 years of tax returns, you're in good shape with the IRS.
Here's the problem. And you got to do it. You can't hear this and say, oh, this is great. That's what people do. You have to call him because at some point in time, IRS is going to send you a letter and they know about you. People think, well, they haven't contacted me in some time. That's good news. It isn't, because IRS is coming. They know if you have a social security number, IRS knows about you. It's that simple.
You've worked at the IRS for over a decade. What are some of the most common mistakes you've seen taxpayers make that trigger an IRS audit?
Well, I think if you know the system, it's really easy to figure this out for yourself. Most people don't realize that 95% of the audits take place through the DIF system. That stands for Discriminatory Index Function System. What does that mean? It means that the computer audits all tax returns. The computer goes ahead and runs algorithm checks through all computers. Now, how do they do that? Let's say that you live in Chicago and you make $100,000. In that area, there are statistics that are generated. What you should be generating, say for interest income and just different dependents. So IRS knows what the standards are. Well, it's okay to pop some standards off and few flags you, but what IRS does, IRS looks at who has the preponderance of flags. And then IRS will know you have fallen way out of the national average. At that point in time, then IRS knows that that is the target market. And now, then what they have to do is figure out, okay, what office would these zip codes be in to audit these people? Then they have to figure out how many grade 13s, that's higher grade 12s, 11s. So they have to be able to account for how many man hours can handle that amount of tax returns at that amount of level. And then they send those tax returns out to that particular group to go ahead and audit. So the tax returns that fall out of the national average in that group are going to be more likely to be audited.
Interesting. And now with AI, that will probably supercharge the diff system, so to speak.
Oh yeah, that's an excellent point, because IRS's computer and AI gets smarter and smarter and smarter. So every return that's audited goes through the bank all over again when it comes back. And then that information gets better and better and better. So they'll be able to target. And IRS always goes after low-hanging fruit first. They've got enough people to look at. So my guess is if IRS is auditing, I think last year IRS actually audited 350,000 returns, whether it was through an office audit, a mail correspondence audit. My guess is at least 95% of those, there were adjustments there. So the computers are just going to get smarter and smarter, and that number is probably going to be in the next couple years probably 98% accuracy. I'll tell you one other really cool thing. Let's say you have a high interest, really high interest on your home. You refinance, it's off the charts. You can actually get a copy of that interest statement and stick it on the back of your tax return. This way, when IRS is actually looking at that to potentially audit, they'll actually see that you do have that interest expense, and you can save yourself an audit because of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. One of my viewers commented on how to do that with TurboTax, that is attaching an additional disclosure form or a receipt with their TurboTax submission. And apparently TurboTax doesn't allow you to do that, but professional tax software does. So if anybody needs to get that done, you probably want to reach out to a tax pro.
Just another reason to use a professional. TurboTax is not a professional. Its software is written for that, but I tell you, if not to go to a professional, if you make a decent amount, anyone who's self-employed should not be using TurboTax. I think there's a distinction. I think if you're a W-2 wage earner, not a problem. Correct? Would you kind of agree? And then once you get to being self-employed, it's like advice. When you form an LLC, you cannot pay a professional enough, because at the end of the day, they're going to make your money back tenfold.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. Michael, my next question is regarding taxing unrealized gains. Vice President and presidential nominee Kamala Harris wants to tax unrealized gains at 25% for high-income earners, basically those with a net worth over $100 million. And the fear for everyday folks like you and me is that if it does somehow pass, perhaps we're next. Any thoughts on this, Michael?
Well, it is. At the end of the day, it has to come down, because there's an illusion that every presidential candidate always wants to tax the rich. Why? Well, because there's few rich people, and this is how many other of us are. So anytime they say, let's tax the rich, that's been the old storyline forever and ever. But at the end of the day, we know that we're the people who pay the majority of taxes. Why? Because the rich have great tax attorneys, great CPAs, and they know how to keep them away from pay. All they're going to do is sidestep this, put the money somewhere else, and they're not going to be taxed. So you cannot outsmart a good tax attorney. At the end of the day, they will find a way to beat the system every single time.
By the way, Michael, I didn't mean to imply that your net worth was not more than $100 million.
Oh, no, I understand. My personally isn't. You're safe with me.
Sounds good. So my next question is regarding Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Which presidential nominee do you think would be better for taxpayers, and which one would be better for the tax profession community? Any thoughts on this?
I don't believe any of them. That's the problem. I think there's an illusion that you pick, and a lot of people pick presidential candidates for a whole bunch of reasons. Some who's stronger, some who's morally stronger, some who's social programs. Everyone is all over the place. The problem is this: what they say and what Congress passes and what the Senate does and what the House, we really don't know. So you can say whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, we really don't know. So if you're banking on, that they're going to do this, here's the other issue. Unless you control the president and the House and the Senate, especially the Senate, it's really a crapshoot, because you really control nothing, right? Unless you control. So that's the only thing a person needs to really be concerned about, in my own estimation. But everyone has their own thought, and I don't want to sway anybody either way.
No, I appreciate that. And I couldn't agree with you more. I have actually recorded a video, which is going live on Saturday, which is going to be like 3 weeks ago from the time this video goes out. But I'll link that up here. But it basically talks about what you just mentioned. So my next question, Michael, is on IRS audits. with the $60 billion in new funding the IRS now has, they said they're only going to increase audits for those earning over $400,000. Anecdotally, are you seeing an uptick in IRS audits for everyday folks?
I haven't seen any change at all. I think that you have to understand that the returns that are being pulled for audit are last year's tax returns. You've got to find out really what algorithms that the people who are putting together the audit characteristics in the program are pulling. We do not know. And they always take place. For instance, this year's tax returns that you prepare, let's say you prepared your return in 2023, that return isn't going to be audited to 2025. Why? Takes a year to file them, and they're still auditing the year before. So they don't audit your return the very next year. They have to wait a cycle before they audit that tax return. And there's not enough information out to be able to tell. There won't really be any serious statistics to look at for the next 2 years. They may say it, but I know it's impossible to pull that information up.
That's good to know. So basically, no uptick in audits that you're seeing, but at the same time, it could be too soon to tell.
I want to say one thing, what really skews the number, why so many lower end taxpayers get audited. It's kind of unfair to say, well, oh, IRS is auditing these people under 50,000. There's a reason for that. There is so much fraud in the area of taking credits and false tax returns that they offer these illegal credits to people under 50, 60,000 because they're guaranteed a bigger refund. In fact, they were never allowed the credits. So therefore, the IRS computers knows that these credits should have been taken by the algorithms that they're putting in. Like, the child care credit, someone 70 years old isn't going to be able to take that credit, but yet you see that going on all the time. Well, those are easy audit targets for IRS. So if you took the credits off of the table, because that's where dollar for dollar money's coming from, you would probably see more of a balance. And that's why so many lower end audits are going on. It's low hanging fruit. They know there's fraud, and that's why they go after. They're not auditing people who are W-2 wage earners. They just don't do that unless they're taking false credits on their return. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Now, regarding a 70-year-old not claiming a child tax credit, that actually wouldn't apply to Robert De Niro.
No, no. A matter of fact, especially when he's attempting a Donald Trump event, that's absolutely there's no telling. There's no telling what credit he's. I see so many memes on him. It is just so. Yeah, every time I see him, he's in a nursery. So yeah, it's like some of the stuff. But I'm staying out of the politics. I don't want any hate mail at all. So don't contact me. He's your first source. I'm just a lonely little former IRS agent. Leave me alone. Send all hate mail to this gentleman right here.
I don't want any of that either. But moving on, Michael. What's the first thing someone should do when they realize they have an IRS problem?
Take care of it right away. What happens? And listen, people don't, and it escalates. If you're going to owe money, by the way, IRS is charging you penalties and interest, and at the end of the day, that's just going to get out of control. IRS failure to pay and interest runs at 13 or 14%. When you go failure to pay is 6% a year. I think the interest rate's 7%, and that's 13%. Interest is on interest. People, they don't want to take care of it. They wait, and all you're doing is running your own IRS bill. And what happens is they forget about it, then IRS is forced to take enforcement action. And this happens with bank levies and wage garnishments. Oh my God. They get the final notice from IRS. They think they got more time. They go to write a check and there's no money in their bank account. They go to work and their boss says, hey, come on in, you owe IRS. Do you know that? Do we really want to keep you on? You owe IRS. I don't want you to work here anymore. So you need to take care of IRS collection problems immediately and IRS audit letters. If you don't go in for the IRS audit, IRS is going to set the liability up against you.
Yeah, great advice. So basically, people should open their mail from the IRS, even if they know it's a tax bill. Don't let them pile up. Don't throw them away. Open them, read them, and take action.
Immediately, because yeah, it's like studying for a test. You just you cram, you put it in the drawer, put it in the drawer, and then all of a sudden you get certified mail, and you go, oh my God, how'd this get like that? It's just people not
Mm-hmm.
being responsible at the end of the day.
Yeah, then it can escalate to the point where they're levying your bank accounts and withdrawing funds that you might need for everyday life.
It's not a good idea when your boss says, hey, I need you to come in. Not only aren't you getting your paycheck, but IRS wants to know about how much you make. Why are they bothering me? That's
Yeah.
really not a good scene to have. And it's even worse when you got to write your electric bill and has frozen your money. And by the way, IRS just doesn't do that. IRS has to send 4 or 5 letters, and then you got one even certified beforehand. When I was an agent, I didn't take any pleasure in garnishing wages or bank account. We were forced to do this because people don't answer the first 4 letters, even certified
Mm-hmm.
letters. So but by the way, nobody touches the IRS levy and wage garnishment. It's all done by computer. So you don't have someone who has your case and says, we better get this SOB. Look, they have it. No, the computer said once you call IRS, if you have a levy or the person on the other end stops the enforcement computer and says, okay, they called, that's all, a call stops that action. But people refuse to make that call. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Michael, when should someone with IRS tax problems reach out to an expert like you and me to a lesser extent for help?
As soon as they get the letter, because once again, why do you want to? All you're doing is escalating the problem, and every time you escalate it, a lot of times the worse you make it on yourself. You just do. A lot of times they're simple to fix. Sometimes it takes a lot of work. Like many times, a person may have a tax return that's wrong. They just need to amend it. Go ahead and amend it. But we could be on this computer screen all day telling people this. They will wait to the last minute. Most people have to wait till IRS actually takes the action before they'll pick up the phone and call because they simply don't believe. I think IRS sends so many nice letters out that people just think IRS isn't going to do this to me. But IRS does that to them.
Very interesting, Michael. Good information. I appreciate that. Michael, thank you so much. You've been a great guest. But before I let you go, I wanted to share my channel stats with you from the last video we did together. Let me pull this up and share this on the screen. Hang on one sec. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see my screen?
I certainly can. You have over 6,000 more than usual views on this video, correct? Your watch
Yes.
time is up amazing. You picked up two. Hey, wait a second. Wait a second. I think I'm entitled to some of that estimated revenue. Don't you think I'm entitled to some of that? I didn't see you like sending me nothing. Wait a second. Wait a second. All I'm seeing here is you did good because of me. Is this correct? Did I get this wrong?
You're absolutely correct. $138 in estimated tax revenue. So, Michael, here's my proposal for you. Next time I'm in town, I owe you and your lovely wife a nice dinner so I can write off that $138. What do you say?
I think that's I think well I should have half your views too. I think those 4,500 viewers should come over to my station as well, don't you? You picked up 213 subscribers. Dude, come on, we crushed it. But let me ask you before we go, would you just tell me a little about you?
I've been doing taxes for a very long time, over 25 years. I love helping people. And the reason I went into taxes for myself is so I could spend more time with my family. I've got 2 young kids. in grade school and elementary school. So doing taxes and running my own accounting / tax business allows me to do that. Michael, are you still there?
No, I think we lost him. No, I can't hear you.
But Michael, I think I lost you. I think our connection got cut off. But I really appreciate your time. You've been wonderful. I'm going to link your contact information in the show notes and also in the comments in case somebody needs to get a hold of you. Reach out to Michael Sullivan for your tax problems. He's the best. He can give you a free consultation over the phone, no strings attached, and he actually answers his phone. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.